Hi everyone, this is Gerard live from Poltan.org and we are in Penang right now for the test drive of the new Subaru Forester. Here it is, and we're about to take it on a 1,200 kilometer drive from Penang all the way to Bangkok. So let's go! So before we set out on the journey, here's a little bit of information about the new Subaru Forester. This one is built on the new Subaru Global platform, just like the new XV. It features a 2-liter boxer engine. It's completely redesigned, although the shape is very familiar. And it's supposedly more comfortable than the previous iteration of the Forester. We'll only find out after we've taken it on our journey, which is about 1,200 to 1,300 kilometers. But we'll see how it goes. Cheers! Hey guys, so it's been about 2 hours, about 200 kilometers, and we are finally at the Bukit Kayu Hitam border crossing. So far the car has been great, as you can see behind us, but I haven't been driving the first stint yet, but I'll get behind the wheel after we cross the border. So we have more for you just after the border. Cheers! So guys, here we are in Hat Yai, 250 odd kilometers from Penang. So far the cars has been doing good, as you can see here. See the entire car lineup. Together with us, we have a few Thai media joining us. During our brief time with it, the driving has been comfortable. It's a lot less floaty than the previous one, a bit firmer, and it's still equally as practical as the previous one. A good family vehicle so far, but we'll continue our journey to find out if it's really worth the money. It's starting to rain a little bit, but I'll give you a quick walk around of what's new on the Subaru Forester. The design, as you can see, may look rather familiar, but there are small changes here and there that make it look a little bit more distinctive. The new grille, for instance, is larger with chrome surrounds, so are the fog lamps enclosures in the corners. You still get C-shaped DRLs for the headlamps along the sides. The silhouette remains familiar, and you still get the snowflake style wheels, which are kind of a neat design, but this is for the low spec model. If you come around the rear, you'll see the most distinctive feature of the Subaru Forester, especially when you're driving behind it, which is this, the C-shaped tail lights. The aperture around the back is also slightly larger, which should make loading cargo a lot easier as well. As you can see, 3 people's luggage, no problem at all. Alright, so now that we are inside the Subaru Forester, you can see that the dashboard is new. It's familiar, but it's new just like the exterior as well. You still get the dual displays right here, the head unit at the bottom and the secondary display at the top. Small TFT display in the instrument cluster. In terms of practicality and layout, there are quite a number of cubby holes that you can use to put items. Here, this little corner underneath the headlamp adjusters and everything. New on this car is the X mode, which is no longer a button, it's a dial. So it's easy, you just push or rotate to engage or disengage certain functions. The steering wheel is also new. You still have the S and I modes to select between different drive modes, cruise control and the such. On high-spec cars with eyesight, there will be controls for the active cruise control here. Yeah, so let me take you to the back and show you just how spacious this thing is. As you can see, for my 170 cm height, there's quite a lot of leg room. Definitely a lot of headroom. So if you want to, you can adjust the seat recline. There's the most upright setting here, and you can lean back if you want to. Other nice touches that people will appreciate, you have rear aircon vents, and you have these 2 charging ports here, 2.1 amps each. So I guess you can charge a tablet and sorts. Yeah, so there are 1 or 2 more practical things that people might appreciate, which are in the boot. So let me take you there. Simple, easy to use things are this little tabs that when you pull, the seats just for forward. So it gives a relatively low loading floor for you to put bigger items. And if you do go on a long distance trip like us, you could technically power a mobile refrigerator using this cigarette lighter and power pot. Yeah, and you have all these hooks and stuff you need to attach netting, so that should make practicality quite high on the scale for us. Day 2 of our Subaru Forester eco run from Penang to Bangkok, and we're about to go on the longest part of the journey, which is from Hat Yai all the way to Hua Hin, which is a 700 odd kilometer journey. So let's go. So I'm finally behind the wheel of the new Subaru Forester. It's been over 500 kilometers of driving so far. So far mainly we've been driving on highway roads and the car has been comfortable. Compared to the previous generation Forester, it's a lot more supple. There's less rebound, it's less bouncy on the roads. So it does make for a more comfortable cruiser. And the engine itself is a 2-litre flat 4, a boxer engine with direct injection. It gives about 156 PS and 196 cubic meters of torque. Like all Subaru models, you have Lineartronic, CVT and symmetrical all-wheel drive, which some might say is a bit of a downer when you're trying to save fuel. But for now, we've been averaging, say, about 7.6 to about 8 liters per 100 km, so that isn't so bad. Because most of our driving is on highway, there's not a lot of chances to test out the X mode, but there is a good chance to test out the powertrain and how it reacts to daily driving situations. So on the highway, if you're cruising mainly within the speed limits of 110 kilometers an hour, it's simple. The engine doesn't make a lot of noise. The only downside is when you are trying to overtake and you do floor the throttle a little bit, the Lineartronic CVT still does a bit of rubber banding, but it's not to an extreme degree where you are just hearing the engine roar for a few seconds on end before you actually start moving. So it's rather responsive that way. When you are on highway speeds, it's relatively comfortable. The only thing you'll notice is a bit of wind noise, and we are driving through a rather choppy part of Thailand right now, so as you can see, my head's not bobbing all over the place, so it's relatively comfortable. A lot more comfortable than the previous one. As you know, the new Forester, the 5th generation one, is built on the Subaru Global platform, which is a lot more rigid than the previous platform that was used. So I guess that allowed for changes in damping to compensate and make it a lot more comfortable in a way. In terms of seating position, like a traditional SUV, you do have a very nice commanding viewpoint of everything. Blind spots are easy to see. The windows along the sides are relatively high. That does make it a bit warm, but then again, our car here doesn't have tinting, so mileage may vary. As for the seats themselves, they are rather supportive. The lumbar is non-adjustable, but it's not being much of an issue for me yet. I haven't had a backache in the 600-700 kilometers we've been driving. So it's been a really long day here for our drive from Hat Yai all the way to Hua Hin, about 750 kilometers. So on a full tank, we managed to complete the entire journey with a remaining range of about 30 kilometers to go. And this is not done in full eco driving, so we weren't being conservative. We were actually chasing time most of the time actually, because the drive here is almost 12 hours long, including all our stops. So tomorrow we're going to start our final leg of the journey, which is from here, Hua Hin, all the way to Bangkok. So far, once again, the car has been performing admirably as usual. Still comfortable, none of us are feeling any discomfort or loading the journey or complaining about the journey yet. In terms of the cabin, it's a redesign from the previous one, but the layout may be a little bit familiar to most. The biggest changes is this big head unit you see before you, and the aircon vents have now been pushed to the sides of it. The screen above the main head unit basically shows you things like the state of the 4-wheel drive system, the tilt of the car, oil temperature, water temperature, average speed, which you control with this button on the steering wheel here. The instrument cluster display is controlled by this separate set of controls. It's not intuitive at first use, but give it some time and you are familiar, and you'll get familiar with it soon enough. About the cabin and its build quality, as you can see, I cannot see, but I can tell you that most of the materials here are quite soft touch, which is nice, quite premium. It would be nice to have some knee pads in the center console, because when you are driving long distance like this, you tend to want to rest your knees on something, and hard plastic isn't exactly the most comfortable thing to rest your foot on. One of the things that I find a bit not so welcoming is the head unit, which does appear a little bit old school. It has all the basic functions like AM, FM, Bluetooth connectivity. There is a navigation function as well, HDMI, Android smartphone mirroring, but the layout and graphics do look a little bit old, especially when the upper display has a more contemporary look to it. So that's one of the downsides as far as I see. So is this a car that you might want to consider? Well, if you think about the competitors, you have the Proton X70 of course, the Honda CR-V and the Mazda CX-5. Those cars, not all of them come with all-wheel drive as standard. You might have to pay more for that. It's a very well-rounded SUV. It's not something that might be appealing to some because of the way it looks, but as something that can be comfortable, take you on a long distance like what we're doing now, cruise around the city, carry all your luggage and all your family members along, it's a rather compelling package. Hey guys, so we're finally here at the final stop of our journey from Penang all the way to Bangkok in the all-new Subaru Forester. It's been a really long journey, a tiring journey, but throughout all this, the Forester has kept its cool and brought us in one piece. The car has been comfortable, it's been reliable, and it's relatively fuel efficient, but I mean, we spend most of our time on the highways, so it's not really a good measure. I guess we'll have to drive it in Malaysia first to see what the fuel economy is really like in day-to-day driving. So for now, this is Gerard signing off, so have a good day.